You're lying in bed at 3 a.m., bills piling up on your kitchen counter, that same argument with your spouse echoing in your mind. The air in your home feels thick, heavy, like you're breathing through a wet blanket. What if I told you that right now, negative energy is actively flowing through your home like invisible smoke, repelling abundance and attracting exactly what you don't want? The solution isn't expensive. It's not complicated. And you probably already have it sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. For over 4,000 years, ancient civilizations knew a secret about protecting their homes that most modern people have completely forgotten. Today, I'm revealing this sacred practice that transforms homes across America, from struggling single mothers in Detroit to overworked executives in Manhattan. It takes less than 20 minutes, costs under $5, and most people see results within the first week. If you're ready to stop struggling and start thriving, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Type in the comments, "I open my home to abundance," because your transformation starts with your willingness to receive. You know, Sarah from Denver thought she was just having a string of bad luck, bills piling up, arguments with her husband every night, and that heavy feeling every time she walked through her front door. She tried everything: budgeting apps, couples therapy, even burning sage she bought at Whole Foods. Nothing worked, until her grandmother shared an ancient secret that most people overlook, sitting right there in their kitchen cabinet. Salt isn't just something you sprinkle on your fries or use to melt ice on your driveway. For over 4,000 years, civilizations from ancient Egypt to Native American tribes understood something profound about salt that modern science is just beginning to rediscover. Salt is nature's most powerful energy absorber. Think about it this way. When you're stressed after a long day at work, what do you crave? A hot bath with Epsom salt. Why? Because salt naturally draws out toxins and negative energy from your body. Your home works the same way, but most people never think to protect it. Here's what's fascinating. Not all salt carries the same energetic frequency. Sea salt, harvested from the vast oceans, holds the memory of tides and lunar cycles, perfect for emotional cleansing. Pink Himalayan salt, formed over millions of years under mountain pressure, carries grounding earth energy. Even regular table salt, though processed, still maintains its fundamental ability to absorb and neutralize. The Tibetan monks knew this. They would place salt in specific locations of their monasteries, not for cooking, but for protection. The Romans paid their soldiers in salt, salary, because they understood its value went far beyond preservation. It was about energetic preservation. When Sarah finally placed salt in the four corners of her home, following the exact method I'm about to share with you, something shifted within 72 hours. The arguments stopped. An unexpected check arrived in the mail. But most importantly, that heavy feeling lifted, replaced by something she hadn't felt in months: hope. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, not a trap for stagnant energy and financial struggle. And the solution has been sitting in your kitchen this whole time. You walk into some homes and immediately feel lighter, more optimistic. Then there are others where you can't wait to leave. Something just feels off. What most people don't realize is that energy flows through your home like water through pipes, and just like water, it can get stuck. Marcus, a software engineer from Austin, couldn't figure out why his home office felt so draining. He'd sit down to work on his side business, the one that was supposed to get him out of his corporate job, and within an hour, he'd feel completely depleted. His laptop would glitch, his internet would slow down, and creative ideas seemed to vanish into thin air. The problem wasn't his Wi-Fi, it was his corners. In feng shui, corners are called shachi, dead zones where energy accumulates and stagnates like dirty water in a clogged drain. Think about it. When did you last clean the corners of your rooms? Not just vacuum, but actually pay attention to them. Most people ignore corners completely, and that's exactly where negative energy loves to hide. Your home has 4 primary energy entry points, the corners of your main living space. These aren't just random spots. They're energetic anchors that determine how abundance and opportunity flow through your entire life. When these corners are energetically clogged, it's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. No matter how hard you work, prosperity keeps leaking out. Start with your living room. This is your home's heart. Then your bedroom, because that's where you're most vulnerable during sleep. Your kitchen comes next, as it's where you nourish yourself. Finally, your main entrance area, because that's where energy first enters your space. Here's something most people miss. If you live in an apartment, you might think this doesn't apply to you. Wrong. Your space is still your energetic domain, regardless of whether you rent or own. The universe doesn't check your lease agreement before deciding whether to bless you with abundance. Marcus started with just his office corners. Within a week, his computer stopped glitching, he landed 2 new clients, and that side business project that had been stalled for months suddenly clicked into place. The signs your home is energetically vulnerable are everywhere. You just haven't been taught to see them. Do you sleep poorly? Feel tired even after a full night's rest? Experience the same arguments on repeat? Watch opportunities slip through your fingers just when success seems close? Your corners are calling for attention, and they've been waiting patiently for you to listen. Lisa thought she was doing everything right. She'd watched a YouTube video, grabbed some salt from her kitchen, and sprinkled it around her house like seasoning on a salad. 3 weeks later, nothing had changed. Her credit card bills were still piling up, her teenage daughter was still giving her attitude, and her husband was still working those soul-crushing overtime shifts. The problem wasn't that salt doesn't work. The problem was that Lisa was performing a ritual without understanding the sacred mechanics behind it. Here's what most people get wrong. They treat salt placement like they're feeding pigeons in the park. Just toss it around and hope for the best. But energy work requires precision, intention, and respect for the process. First, the amount matters. You need exactly 1 tablespoon of salt per corner, no more, no less. Too little, and you're trying to catch rain with a teacup. Too much, and you're overwhelming the space's natural energy flow. Think of it like tuning a radio. There's a specific frequency where everything becomes crystal clear. Timing is everything. The new moon is your power window. Those 3 days when the lunar energy supports fresh beginnings and clearing old patterns. If you can't wait for the new moon, Tuesday or Saturday work well, because these days carry warrior energy for breaking through obstacles. Here's the part that changes everything. You don't just place the salt and walk away. You need to program it with your intention. Hold each tablespoon in your palms, close your eyes, and speak directly to it, like you're giving instructions to a trusted friend. Say this: I ask you to absorb all negative energy from this space and transform it into protection and abundance for my family. Feel the salt warming in your hands. That's confirmation it's listening. Place each portion in the corner while visualizing a golden light expanding from that spot, creating an invisible shield around your entire home. Most people skip this visualization step, which is like trying to start a car without turning the key. The biggest mistake? Rushing through it while thinking about your grocery list or what to make for dinner. This isn't a chore, it's a sacred act of reclaiming your energetic sovereignty. The universe responds to reverence, not convenience. When Lisa finally performed the ritual properly, with intention, precision, and respect, her daughter apologized for her behavior the next morning. Her husband got offered a promotion that Friday, and that credit card company called to offer her a payment plan she could actually afford. The salt was the same. The difference was the ritual. Think of your home like a smartphone. Every day it picks up invisible signals. Some you want, some you definitely don't. Just like your phone can get overwhelmed by too many apps running in the background, your home can get energetically overloaded by negative frequencies that drain your life force and repel good fortune. David, a real estate agent from Phoenix, couldn't understand why he'd been in a 2-year slump. He was working twice as hard as his colleagues, yet somehow every deal would fall through at the last minute. Clients would ghost him, financing would mysteriously get denied, and competitors seemed to effortlessly close sales that should have been his. Then his mentor shared something that changed everything. Your home isn't protecting you. It's actually working against you. Here's how salt creates an energetic firewall around your space. Salt crystals vibrate at a frequency that neutralizes chaotic energy waves, the same way noise-canceling headphones work, but for your spiritual field. When you place salt in your corners, you're essentially installing invisible antennas that filter out financial stress, relationship drama, and opportunity-blocking vibrations before they can take root in your life. But here's where it gets really interesting. Salt doesn't just block negative energy, it transmutes it. Like a spiritual recycling center, salt takes that heavy, stagnant energy and converts it into protective light that actually attracts abundance. It's not about building walls, it's about creating a magnetic field that draws prosperity toward you. Think about successful people you know. Ever notice how some of them seem to have this invisible force field around them? Problems bounce off, opportunities stick to them like magnets, and even when challenges arise, solutions appear quickly. That's not luck, that's energetic alignment. David decided to try the salt method as a last resort. Within 2 weeks, a client he'd written off 6 months earlier called out of the blue, ready to buy, then another. Within 2 months, he'd closed more deals than in the previous 8 months combined. The science behind this goes deeper than most people realize. Your home's energy field extends roughly 30 feet beyond your physical walls. When that field is contaminated with stress, arguments, worry, and frustration, it broadcasts those frequencies out into the world like a radio tower. You literally become a magnet for more of what you don't want. But when your home's energy field is clean and protected, something magical happens. You start attracting people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your highest good instead of your deepest fears. Your home should be working for you, not against you. And salt is the simplest way to flip that switch. Jennifer from Seattle was skeptical. She'd placed the salt in her corners exactly as instructed, but kept checking every few hours like she was waiting for popcorn to pop. How will I know if this is actually working? She wondered, staring at the small white piles that looked no different than when she'd placed them there. 3 days later, she had her answer. The salt in her bedroom corner had turned slightly gray and clumped together like wet sand. The pile near her front door looked almost crystallized, as if it had been frozen and thawed. Jennifer's first thought was that her heating system was acting up, but then she remembered what her grandmother used to say. When salt changes, it's because it's working. Here's what most people don't realize. Salt is like a spiritual sponge. When it starts absorbing negative energy, it physically transforms. Fresh, clean salt sits loose and bright white. But salt that's doing its job will darken, clump, or even develop tiny crystals as it pulls toxic energy out of your space. The more dramatic the change in your salt, the more negativity it has neutralized. Jennifer's bedroom salt had turned gray because she'd been having insomnia for months. Her front door salt crystallized because that's where all the outside stress was trying to enter her home. The salt was literally showing her evidence of its work. But the physical changes in salt are just the beginning. The real magic happens in your life. Within a week of placing the salt, Jennifer noticed she was sleeping through the night for the first time in months. Her morning coffee tasted better. Her neighbor, who usually complained about everything, actually smiled and waved. Small things, but she felt lighter somehow. By week 2, bigger shifts appeared. Her boss, who'd been impossible to please for years, complimented her work. An old friend reached out to reconnect. Her teenage son actually cleaned his room without being asked, twice. Here's the timeline most people experience. Days 1-3, you might feel nothing except doubt. Days 4-7, subtle improvements in sleep, mood, and daily interactions. Weeks 2-4, noticeable changes in relationships, work situations, and unexpected positive developments. After a month, you realize your entire life feels different, though you can't pinpoint exactly when it shifted. The salt needs refreshing every full moon, roughly every 28 days. You'll know it's time when the salt looks obviously different, or when that heavy feeling starts creeping back into your space. Never reuse salt that's done energy work. It has served its purpose. Thank it, then dispose of it by flushing it down the toilet or burying it outside, returning its transformed energy back to the earth. Jennifer now calls salt placement her monthly energy maintenance, as important as paying bills or changing air filters. Because protecting your energetic space isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice that keeps abundance flowing and negativity from taking root. The salt will show you it's working. You just need to know how to read the signs. Robert from Chicago thought the salt was working well enough. His apartment felt lighter. His job stress had decreased, and he'd even gotten a small raise. But then his neighbor mentioned seeing him on a dating app and said, "You look different lately, more confident or something." That's when Robert realized the salt had only unlocked the first level. There were deeper layers of protection and abundance waiting to be activated. Think of salt as your energetic foundation, essential, but just the beginning. Once you've established that protective barrier, you can layer on practices that amplify your results exponentially. It's like the difference between having basic cable and upgrading to the premium package. Here's the combination that creates what I call the abundance lock. Place a small, clear quartz crystal next to each salt pile. Quartz acts like an amplifier, taking the salt's protective energy and broadcasting it throughout your entire home instead of just the corners. Within days, Robert noticed the positive energy wasn't confined to certain rooms anymore. His whole apartment hummed with good vibes. For financial breakthroughs specifically, add 3 drops of peppermint essential oil to each salt pile during the new moon. Peppermint has been used for centuries to attract money and clear mental blocks around prosperity. The combination of salt's protection and peppermint's magnetic properties creates what ancient practitioners called the merchant's shield. Protection from financial loss and attraction of new income streams. But here's where most people stop short of real transformation. They forget the power of spoken intention. Every time you refresh your salt, that monthly ritual I mentioned, speak this affirmation while placing each new portion. My home is a sanctuary of peace, prosperity, and divine protection. All who enter here are blessed, and abundance flows freely through these walls. Robert started adding this affirmation to his monthly salt refresh. Within 2 months, he'd been promoted again, met someone special through a mutual friend, and his landlord actually reduced his rent because he'd been such a good tenant. The advanced practice? Create what's called an energetic perimeter around your entire property. If you live in a house, place a small amount of salt mixed with crushed eggshells at each corner of your lot during the full moon. Apartment dwellers can create the same effect by placing the mixture in small containers on windowsills facing each direction. This expands your protective field beyond just your living space to encompass your entire energetic territory. Robert's girlfriend noticed the difference immediately when she first visited. She said his place felt like a peaceful bubble compared to the chaos of the city outside. The secret most people never discover is that salt work isn't just about protection. It's about creating an energetic environment where your highest potential can flourish. When you combine salt's grounding power with crystal amplification, essential oil magnetism, and conscious intention, you're not just clearing negative energy. You're installing a prosperity consciousness into the very walls of your home. Your space becomes a launching pad for the life you're meant to live, instead of a holding cell for the life you're trying to escape. Before we dive into this life-changing practice, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how this ancient wisdom spreads across the country. And while you're there, type these exact words. My home is my sanctuary of abundance. Don't just watch this video. Participate in your own transformation. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because I'm constantly sharing practices like this that most people never discover. Your home is about to become your greatest ally in creating the life you deserve.